The Utah Jazz are going to be the best team in 2030. Now, it's a hot take. It's insanely early to be saying that. They have shown promise over the last couple of years with some of their young pieces, but they are in such a great spot to take that next leap and in 4 years' time be in the NBA Finals. I've got a couple of things I want to talk about this Utah team. Some of the past, some of the present, and some of the future, which really will help this team jump to the next level. The first thing, especially about the past, that I want to talk about is Lauri Markkanen. Okay, since he was acquired from Cleveland, he's been averaging 23.6, and it's across 4 years. Ever since he arrived, he's been playing extremely well. In that trade for Donovan Mitchell, they also got three first round picks, which at base level they were good teams and they were protected, so they were never going to really account to much. Those three picks got converted into Phoenix's 2031 unprotected first round pick. And earlier I said that I don't really want to talk anywhere past 2030, but that pick is extremely important to what happened this year. The next person I want to talk about is Walker Kessler. He got drafted 22nd in the 2022 draft by Memphis and got traded to Utah pretty much straight after. He, especially this year, hasn't done much. He's been averaging 14 and 11 this season in his 5 games that he played, but he's been very heavy in trade talks. Now, obviously, he's still in Utah, otherwise I would not be talking about him. But it's worth taking note that all of these trade rumors are happening because it leaves a lot of potential for something to happen within the coming years. The next person I want to talk about is Keontae George. Now, he was drafted 16th in 2023 by Utah this time. And this season has actually absolutely exploded. He's been averaging 23.8 and 6.5 assists. And that, albeit due to the absence of some of their other players, you can really see the explosive leap that he's taken this season, and it shows potential for the future. Whether that is at the point guard, at the shooting guard, who cares? This kid is going to be great. A couple of other pieces that Utah have, obviously, is Isaiah Collier, who you saw drop 22 assists in one night, along with double-digit points, and then Kyle Filipowski, who, going into his draft class, was supposed to be maybe a lottery pick. Definitely a lottery pick. I feel like he was supposed to go higher, but there was a lot of stuff around his training camps which just didn't sit well with any team. Now, I think he dropped to about the very late, end of the lottery. But I'm pretty sure all that draft stuff was, I don't think it was it was personal stuff, but it wasn't about Kyle. It was more about the system around him, the people, especially I'm pretty sure it was his girlfriend. Now, that, I believe, if he can get that in check, could it be absolutely beautiful. The first thing about this season that I want to talk about is actually happened in the preseason, where they drafted Ace Bailey. Ace Bailey, apparently his agent was saying that he didn't want to go to Utah. Now, the jury's still out on whether or not he genuinely wants to be in Utah, but that doesn't matter because if he can progress the way he should, he will be an incredible piece for this team going into 2030. He averaged 18 and 7 at Rutgers, which is pretty good, especially when he was shooting about 44%. This season, they also traded for Jaren Jackson Jr., and all they traded, although it is pretty good for youthful pieces, Walter Clayton Jr., and they gave up 3 first-round picks. There was obviously other people in that trade. It was an 8-person trade. I don't want to put no disrespect on them, but they're not main pieces to this trade. The three picks that they gave up was a 2027 Lakers pick. They gave up a swap best for obviously Utah, Cleveland, and Minnesota's 2027 pick, and also they gave up that Phoenix Suns 2031 pick, which they acquired from Donovan Mitchell trade. Now, Jaren is, I believe, a great player for this team. I don't believe, he's completely different to the likes of their power forward, their center, in Walker Kessler and also Lauri Markkanen. Lauri is a very prolific shooter and scorer. And Walker Kessler, he's very much a traditional big man, where Jaren Jackson Jr. sits in between the middle of those, where he's an incredible defender, but he doesn't like to grab a lot of rebounds. But his offensive game, especially since Ja started, all that Ja drama happened, he's really taken a step up in his offensive game. Now, that's an important piece for Utah going into the future, because I think that when they win a championship, not if, but when they win a championship in the next 5 years, he will be on that team. He probably will not be the finals MVP, although I would absolutely love to see a world where he is, but he will definitely be on this team. The next thing I want to talk about is Utah's draft capital because I'm scrolling through Fanspo at the moment and it doesn't even show the fact that their pick this year is protected. I believe it's top 8 protected and they are well in range of getting that pick, especially jumping. We saw that, I think yesterday, it actually got announced that Jaren Jackson Jr. is going to miss the rest of the season after getting knee surgery. I believe it's his knee. I could be wrong. It had something to do with the joint. I'm pretty sure it was like a small, like, cancerous growth in his knee, which isn't death threatening, which is absolutely awesome. But it is a procedure that they wanted to get done. But they have their pick top 8 protected this year, and it will most likely fall within that range. They also have another one this year. They have their own next year. They have the Lakers top 4 protected pick next year. They have one in 2028, they have their own in 29, they have their own in 30. They pretty much own all of their own picks. And that is a great spot to be in because they could just trade them all for a superstar. But the thing about this draft, if they do have a top 8 protected pick, they have a high chance of jumping in the draft. Now, looking at this year, this draft class, you've got Darren Peterson, Cam Boozer, AJ DeBanza, Caleb Wilson, and Kingston Flemings. Now, I believe any of those 5, maybe not Cam Boozer, purely because of how many people they do have, especially on like their depth chart. How many people they do have the power forward position. I believe Darren Peterson obviously will be one of their best players if they draft him. Also, Kingston Flemings, I believe that either of those two playing the point guard or the shooting guard, along with either Ace Bailey or Keontae George, will be an absolutely incredible future backcourt. AJ DeBanza as well, you could see playing, especially off the bench for a couple of years, or realistically, they could just trade the pick. Okay, they do have Walker Kessler, who they have been saying is in trade talks. They have held him to such a high price for so long. My Lakers have never been able to get him. We've got DeAndre Ayton. Please get rid of him. Like, he's been playing okay, but if we could get Walker Kessler, we'll be absolutely barbecue chicken. But they also, obviously, like I said, do have all of their picks for the future, and they can just trade them away. But if they were to either pick up a guard in this draft, or they were to trade it away, I believe that would be absolutely beautiful for them. Now, the guards that I think that they could trade for, I have absolutely no idea, because we don't know what's going to happen in the next 6 months. But if they were to build more of a young core, get a Darren Peterson, Kingston Flemings, who cares? Keaton Wagler from Illinois. That would be incredible for their future. And they would have a starting 5 of, let's just say, Keontae George after this season. They would have Ace Bailey or whoever they draft, either Darren Peterson, it could be anyone, who cares? Lauri Markkanen, Jaren Jackson Jr., and a healthy Walker Kessler. That is I'm going to say that's a 50-win team. That is an absolutely absurd team, especially for the future. And that team, if they were to make one trade for an extra piece, and superstar who can really take them to the next level, you can't say that I'm wrong to say that they will be the top team in 2030. There's just some extra things that I just want to add to this, okay? At the end of the season, Utah will open up $23 million worth of dead money. Now, their salary cap, obviously everyone is over the salary cap at this point, especially with the way the contracts go, the aprons, but about the second apron, everyone's scared of it, right? Utah are so scared of it that they are currently $83 million under the second apron. That has a lot of room to grow. Obviously, they will have to re-sign Keontae George, Walker Kessler in the next 2 years. But with that money there, it doesn't matter. Obviously, they've got Lauri Markkanen on about $50 million a year. And Jaren Jackson's also earning about $50 million a year. But with $40 million each to give Keontae George and Walker Kessler, I don't expect Walker Kessler to go anything more than 25. If 25 is pretty hefty for Walker Kessler. Keontae George, absolutely not. But yeah, they have a lot of money under the second apron to really re-sign this core. it's a luxury that OKC have just used. So they've just re-signed. They obviously had Shea Gilgeous-Alexander, but they just re-signed Chet Holmgren and also Jalen Williams, and really pushed them close to the second apron, which is where they start using their draft capital to filter in new players and filter out the old ones, and they can really go and prosper somewhere else. Obviously, that's just speculation. I have no idea if that's going to happen within the next 2 years or not, but it probably will, based off how their current financial situation goes. And just who do they trade? Like, I've said this many times already. Walker Kessler has been in trade talks, and he would be a great person to be trading. Either get a better center, or it depends on who they draft, who they trade for. Maybe a point guard, someone to go alongside Keontae George, so he can really be more of a scorer. Because I don't really see, if you want a real facilitator, Isaiah Collier, I don't see him starting for this team in the next 5 years. But they could trade Isaiah Collier as well, because he, especially now, is showing that he can be a really great young piece, great facilitator, and he could be someone that you could put a real hefty scorer around. Say if they were to trade him to whoever got AJ DeBanza this year. And then their bench would be Kyle Filipowski. It would be Bryce Sensabaugh, who you can see is very hit and miss. He can have 20 points. He can have 0 points on 0 of 10 shooting. Who knows? Isaiah Collier, if he doesn't get traded. Ace Bailey or George, like Keontae George, whoever does start, obviously will not be there. And is Cody Williams, like, we've seen him have the lowest plus minus of all time. We've seen how bad he can be, especially in his rookie year. He was absolute buns. But could he be a positive asset for this Utah team? Now, as I'm all sure, you all know that this is all speculation. This could all change within the next 2 years, could blow up in my face in the next 6 months. The Utah Jazz could lose their pick. They could jump. They've just, as I've been recording this, got fined $500,000 for the management of their roster because of when they tanked that game. They were up by about 30 points. Took both Lauri Markkanen and Jaren Jackson Jr. out and then lost the game. So yeah, they've been fined for that, but they could start winning games. Their pick could not go top 8 and they could lose it. They could draft the wrong person. They could, who knows? One person wants out, one person ACL. I'm just listing things that could just change the entire franchise. But the way I see it, in their current state, they could absolutely be the best team in 2030. You know who can't? Sacramento Kings. Next week, I will be talking about what Sacramento do to fix their franchise, what they can do, what they definitely won't do, which is make good trades. But no, I intend on making a video on that. On Monday, I'll be going through my AFL Supercoach team. But yeah, that has been my angle on the Utah Jazz. Thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe, and I hope you enjoyed.